Hello and welcome to IRL F2 here in round 11 for Brazil. Of course, it's a 3.4 kilometer circuit, if I can remember correctly. No, sorry, it's 4.3 kilometers spanning across 15 corners, and of course the best two realistic overtaking opportunities going into turn 1 after the really long start finish straight, and then into turn 4 after you exit turn 3. So, of course, in the championship, Tim Mercedes last week, with his win in Bahrain, allowed him to take the lead in the championship, and with some penalties and stewards' verdicts going around, it means that Ross got disqualified from last race, and with his penalty points means he will be not racing today either. So, no Ross, who's second in the championship at the moment. Of course, Tim Mercedes is their championship leader now, second just behind Erminator, only 100th between those two. And then there's Ivan Kingsley, who's down in 18th. Also got to watch out for Adrian Lennon as well. He's just about still in the championship fight as far as I know. So, still some things that could potentially happen, excuse me. So pretty much no one out on track. You can see Matt going across the line. He's set a 7.7, of course, on the softs. So that puts him 7th. So a lot of 7s there. There's a few people getting on their out laps. As Insomnia Kaya is getting ready for his lap. I'm not sure of his actual name, however. So I'll have to find that somewhere. But for Kaya now, of course, crossing over the line and starting his lap into turn 1. Didn't look too confident on the turn-in, at least, as of course he exits through. He's used a lot of ZRS on the out lap, so certainly not the best setup that he's had. As it looks like he's 2/10 up on his previous time of a 10.6. So we'll continue as, of course, he's going into the double right-hander now. Gotta really be on the power, but make sure you don't invalidate on the left-hand side as well. Make sure you keep it within the track limits. And then, of course, we go on board with him still making his way through the second sector. Gets up on the grass as well. If he does improve, I don't think it's going to be a very big improvement for the Ferrari driver. I think he's reserved from what I can tell. As, of course, through what is the final proper corner, you can say, and he's invalidated, so that's the end of that lap. As you can see, Enzo on his lap now, he's approaching turn 4. You can see he's just about a 10th up on his time. Of course, his previous time was set on mediums, and that's going to be the end of his time now. He's spun around, his lap's invalidated, and he's lost his wing, and that's him out of the qualifying session, as you can see. So we'll see if someone else is on board. Looks like Tim Mercedes is actually on a lap, and of course that's someone who we really want to pay attention to. He could win the championship today, being the championship leader, if all things go right for him today, and it's certainly what he's going to be wanting. As of course through this right-hander, a little bit tricky on the turn, and of course you can also lock up pretty easily if you're running no ABS, and of course the flat left-hander. And he's up on his time as well, just about a 10th, so this should be on for pole position as he goes off the track, but luckily for him, it stays valid, as of course going through turn 14, there's little kinks here, as this is the final corner, and he's going to be going across the line. Can Tim Mercedes do it? No, he can't. It's a 10th down, is turn 12, I think it is. When he went wide, it must have been just not good enough. And of course he doesn't improve and doesn't put it on provisional pole, which is something that you need, of course, on this track as well. You'd think that overtaking would be fairly easy, and I mean, to be fair, it is going down the start fairly straight, but closing in on people through sector 2 can be a little bit difficult, and that's where people get a little bit spread out, as of course we're on board here with Louis Quinlan, who's going to be looking to improve on his lap as well. He's currently 5th, and he's also up in the middle sector, just about half a tenth. So he should be able to go 4th with this lap, and if he had a good enough final corner, maybe challenge for 3rd, but it'd be a little bit out of reach. So we're going to be seeing him go across the line now, and he's going to, yeah, there you go, he's going to go up to 4th, about half a tenth improvement, and it's a 7.6 flat for Louis there. And once again for the AlphaTauris, crucially, of course, both of them putting themselves up there. The two Alpines also doing a good job in 1st and 3rd, so could see a little bit of a fight between those two. As of course we're finishing up as Adrian Lennon couldn't improve on his position. He stays 3rd fastest, just behind Tim. The top 3 separated by only about 200ths, maybe just over 200ths as well. As of course I think Louis Quinlan might be trying to improve in this lap here. I'm not sure, as Tim Verstappen certainly isn't going to be improving. As we'll see Louis Quinlan going to the left-hander now. He's retired from the session as Connor Setchell, he invalidates. Pruden is done for the day. Matt is going to the final corner in the McLaren. I think someone may have improved there, I'm not sure, someone just finishing up. But Matt, of course, is going to be going through the final corner in a moment. He's opening up the DRS as well. He's going to be looking for an improvement, a small improvement to at least get him 6th, and he goes up to 4th, beats Louis Quinlan as well with a 7.5. So gets himself right into the top 5, and that is going to be the end of qualifying. So as you can see there, Ehrman took the pole position here and sends him up well for the race, as of course you can see such fine margins between the top 3. The 2 Germans lock out the front row. Of course Adrian Lennon in 3rd, Matt 4th, and Louis Quinlan rounds out the top 5. Connor Setchell couldn't improve, as you saw there. He invalidated his final lap and finishes up in 6th. Jack Uden in 7th. Sylvain Vezier is in 8th. Luke Baker down in 9th, and then Enzo de Toit rounds out the top 10. Kaya could only manage 11th, but he gets free choice of tyres. It's not too bad for him. And then not setting in time, quite a few people. Tom Spicer, Shane, Cameron Rowlands, who's serving a quali ban. Kieran Spears, Billy Mossam, that's, I can't remember, Jeremy Pope, and then Ivan Kingsley also serving a quali ban. And Matt Romano, of course, starts last as normal. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do, especially on a track that promotes penalties. Okay, didn't look like it was anyone was loading in there for a second. But now we just wait for them to get their strategies in order, maybe change a wing up or down a little bit. And I'll try and get some sort of tweet out. Unless it's been up already. Which would be nice. Yeah, never mind. Damn it. Okay, it'll be a little late of a tweet, but I'm gonna have to do the start of the race. So just get all the information up quickly. As of course, for round 11 today, we have 5 red lights for the Brazilian Grand Prix, and it's lights out, and away we go. Looks like Timber Satan's got a pretty good start. He might be looking on the inside of Ehrman, and into turn 1, Ehrman is going to lead the field away. Of course, the McLaren there of Matt making up a place ahead of Adrian Lennon there. Up to 3rd for him as Conor Setchell retains his 5th. Louis Quinlan is going side by side with Sylvain Vezier, who's trying to make up a few places, and up front Matt is trying to go around the outside of the championship leader. Just can't make it work. May have picked up a penalty there, as well as Ehrman continues to lead away. He's had a very good start for himself as he leads going through the middle sector. As you can see, they all funnel out at the start of this race. It's Ehrman ahead of Timber Salen's Matt, and then Adrian Lennon and Conor Setchell, your top 5. Down below though, Ivan Kingsley, who started on mediums, he's made his way up to 12th. Cameron Rowlands also another one with the quali ban, he's made his way up to 11, so they're just on the cusp of getting into the points. As of course Timber Sailings is really going to have to stick with Ehrman here, as if I remember correctly, Ehrman's actually won here in Brazil before. I'm not sure if it was an F2 race or not, but certainly he has experience winning here before, and he finds himself leading, and of course takes the fastest lap, naturally leading away. Of course Timber Sailing is still trying to keep the pressure on in his AlphaTauri. I think he can take the championship today, I'm not completely sure. At the moment, I think maybe if he took a win and Ivan didn't get too many points, it could be possible, but that's all remains to be seen, as Ehrman has very good pace, it seems, at the moment, as of course he's pulled about an 8/10 gap to the German, or his fellow German, you could almost say. The two Germans lead the field away in a 1-2, of course. Matt putting some pressure on Timber Sailings, and actually a penalty there for Sylvain Vezier running in 7th for just multiple warnings, only lap 2, so not exactly the best point to be getting warnings here today, but looks like it's more or less died down now. And I'll just work on getting this tweet out properly. It's just need to find some things here. And there we go. So now I have to tweet up and I can focus more. And this is Timber Stalins now actually sets the fastest lap of the race here on lap 2. DRS of course enabled as they go on to lap 3, and he's going to have DRS straight away on the exit of turn 3. Timber Stalins trying to chase a win. He's certainly going to want to win back-to-back wins. Of course he took his first win last week, or of course around 10, and it was certainly a long time coming. I'm sure he'd love to be able to take another win here in Brazil, as it looks like Matt's falling a little bit off Tim now, as of course he was putting quite a bit of pressure on him last lap, so everything just funneling out a little bit more, as Ivan Kingsley's actually dropping down to 13th now, as Cameron Rowland's under pressure a little bit from Billy Moss, and of course Billy on the softs compared to Cameron Rowland's mediums, so he'll be looking for a move on him, as we'll just go back to the fight for the front, as of course Timber Sailings now right on the back of Ehrman. He's going to be looking around the outside for turn 1, not really the preferred line. He uses his DRS all the way down towards turn 1, and the championship leader takes the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix as well, and I'm sure that's going to put a smile on his face. Ehrman is going to try and fight back though. Of course he's going to be opening up the DRS, not using any ERS at this moment, as he's just going to hang back, as of course now the German Timber Sailings taking the lead of this race. But I don't think that's going to be the end of it, as Ehrman surely is going to want his lead back as he chases down Timber Sailings now for the lead. Of course, I think we may have a proper lead, or fight for the lead, on our hands between these two. And Matt certainly keeping within DRS as well. Can't count out Adrian either. Of course, he's had a lot of bad luck for himself here this season. So hopefully for his sake he can at least get a podium or something. Of course, he's still in the championship fight, you never know. He could end up putting himself right back where he needs to be. As you can see, Conor Setchell trying to chase down Adrian Lennon, as Tim Mercedes now pulling a little bit of a gap to Ehrman. There's about 7/10 between them. Of course, Ehrman's going to be opening up the DRS down towards turn 1, as Tim Mercedes is going to retain his lead, but you can see how close Ehrman is now. As actually he's made a mistake here, and Matt's going to be able to go through. His teammate's going to be pressuring him down towards turn 4 as well. He's going to be opening up the DRS, surely. I don't think they're going to be fighting if they don't have to anyway, as Ehrman's going to keep in front, but that maybe takes a little bit of pressure off Tim now, because Matt, of course, he was running in third, he was sticking within the DRS, but Ehrman leading, of course, and took pole position as well. You could take him as one of the quicker guys at least, so I'm sure Tim wouldn't mind having one less to deal with, at least for now. As you can see, the two Alpines running third and fourth, Louis Quinlan down in sixth. Of course, Tim Mercedes' teammate, he's said that he'll do what needs to be done to help Tim with his championship, but he's also thinking a little bit about himself. He hasn't forgotten about himself either. If he can get a podium, I'm sure he'd go for it. As of course, oh, there's yellow flags. Looks like someone a little bit further down is into the pit lane for Ehrman on lap 6. A little bit early of a stop for the German there, as Adrian Lynn's going to take a podium place off him now, as Matt continues to follow behind Tim Mercedes. Tim has actually used a lot of ERS leading this race as well, which is going to allow Matt to close up all that little bit more. As you can see, Adrian Lynn a little bit under pressure from Conor Setchell, and Louis Quinlan as well is keeping right with this battle for what is third place at the moment. And you can see in McLaren and Sylvain Vezier certainly would pick up the pieces if anything happened between these three. Tim's still a little bit under pressure from the McLaren, and I think the McLaren may get a little bit of an opportunity going down towards turn 1. Of course, Tim Mercedes has used a lot of his ERS. You can see the McLaren in the background. He's going to be opening up the DRS now, maybe more so of an opportunity down towards turn 4. The McLaren is closing. Tim Mercedes is going to move to cover him off, and the McLaren looks down the inside, but just stays behind him for now at least, as he's going to be trying to accelerate through turn 2, out of turn 3 as well, using the DRS once again down towards turn 4. Tim Mercedes is going to go to the inside to try and defend his lead. Matt round the outside, and he's going to take the lead of this race, or is he though? He's gone a little bit off the track, as Tim Mercedes is going to try and get his lead back, but just can't do it, as Matt now takes the lead. Of course, Tim did everything he could to fight, but at some point you do have to let them through, as Conor Setchell also gets past Adrian Lennon for the podium places as well. As looks like Kaya has retired in the pit lane, so that's fair enough. Unfortunate to lose someone from this race though, as we'll just look on the rear wing of Matt here. Of course, Tim Mercedes is going to be closing all the way down towards turn 1. He's going to be looking for his lead back as well. Will he look to the inside or outside? Matt's going to stay on the outside. Tim Mercedes down the inside. He's going to retake his lead. Is he? Of course, he's going to try and squeeze out the McLaren, and he's going to retake the lead, as Matt now is going to be having the second bite of the cherry. He's going to have DRS. He's going to be using ERS down towards turn 4. He was able to make the move here. Last lap, he's going to be looking on the inside, side by side once again, and Tim Mercedes isn't going to fight it too much, as of course he needs to think about the championship as well. He doesn't want to be risking an incident with Matt. Of course, Matt certainly not who he needs to be fighting with, as Louis Quinlan now actually has gone through for a P3, so the AlphaTauris as a whole doing quite well at the moment, as Conor Setchell probably made a mistake, it seems, as Adrian Lennon now falling down to 6th at the moment, unfortunately, as Matt still tries to hold Tim off, but Tim's sticking with him very well through this middle sector. As a little bit of a lift, it seems. I don't think that was necessary, or at least like yesterday when we did F1, the little bit of a dry period that we had, but Tim Mercedes now on the back of Matt once again. He's going to be opening up the DRS. We might see a little bit of a repeat as actually Matt's going to go into the pit lane. Tim Brusselens is going to inherit the lead in that case. And he's going to stay out, of course, lap 9 now. The 2 AlphaTauris staying out. It's going to be a little bit difficult. It's actually now, what's happened here? Sylvain Vezier's gone very wide, trying to avoid the back of Connor Setchell. Adrian Lennon is going to be able to go through pretty easily and take a 4th place from that. Connor Setchell still trying to put some pressure on Louis Quinlan, who's actually caught a little bit maybe to his teammate. Who's of course leading at the moment, 1.8 seconds. I think it was a little bit more before, so maybe Tim Brusselens is just taking it easy, knowing his teammates behind him as well. As you can just see, Louis Quinlan is really going to be trying to hold up the pack, especially Adrian Lennon, who still has a chance at this championship. Of course, Tim Brusselens sticking about 1.7, 1.8 seconds ahead still, is using ERS for Louis Quinlan, trying to stay ahead of Connor Setchell. It looks like it's actually working, you know. As of course they approach turn 1, he's got a little bit of a gap. You can see now Connor Setchell with the DRS closing. He might have a look down the inside, but he's going to stick behind. Of course, going through turns 1 and turns 2, he'll have an opportunity as they approach turn 4, of course. As the Aston Martin's still trying to close up, Louis Quinlan's going to defend to the inside. The Aston Martin's going to look to the outside. He gets squeezed, but round the outside anyway. And I'm not sure, it doesn't look like that was successful, as I think he tried to do some sort of switchback going through turn 5. And he's lost a little bit of time now to Louis as well, about 5/10. So he's going to have to stick behind just a little bit longer, as Ivan Kingsley now, it seems, has got past and up into 8th place for himself. But he's 3.2 seconds off the lead of this, well, not the lead, 3.2 seconds off Kieran Spears, which isn't really what he needs. And 11 seconds off the lead, but crucially on the mediums. So we'll see, of course, how the softs can fare later on in this race. Is this going to be a safety car? It is going to be a safety car. Very awkward for the 2 AlphaTauris, who will both surely have to pit. As of course pretty much everyone is going to be making their way into the pit lane. Tom Spicer should also be pitting, as of course he goes in, staying out for Kieran Spears, of course, on the mediums. If you're on the mediums, realistically you should be staying out, as we'll just see what happens here. Of course, Kieran Spears is going to take the lead. Ivan Kingsley is going to find himself second. Hards for Tim Brusselens, and mediums for Connor Setchell. Mediums also for Matt, of course, who pit a lap earlier. He's actually going to be pretty equal with Tim Brusselens, it seems, as he's actually got ahead of Tim Brusselens. Of course, he was on an undercut strategy, and he's made it work. Tim Brusselens, of course, stayed out the extra few laps, and with the safety car's help, still, unfortunately, wasn't able to stay ahead. So Matt now is your net leader. Ehrman also finds himself ahead of Tim Brusselens. He took quite an early stop onto the mediums, but those mediums might be a little, well, they'll be quite worn by the end of this race. Of course, already 4 laps on them. Safety car should be able to help out a little bit with that, at least. So Tim, of course, finds himself in 6th place. And Kieran Spears finds himself leading. Of course, he's taken a few wins this season. He's not necessarily been a title contender, but I don't think he would be too unhappy. Of course, taking the few wins is always nice, and he finds himself leading once again here today. And of course, on the mediums, he has one more stop to do, as does Ivan Kingsley and Enzo. It looks like everyone else took the opportunity to pit, or just pit a few laps earlier. And unfortunately for Louis Quinlan, who had to double stack with his teammate, finds himself down in 10th, but not as bad, I guess, as it could have been. Losing out 3 positions compared to where he was with his teammate on the hards as well. So interestingly mixed between people picking the hards and the mediums. Some people think the mediums can go to the end, other people think that the hards are certainly the better choice. So I guess we'll see how that plays out by the end, and also how the guys who stayed out on their mediums and will be stopping again for softs right at the end, if that pace advantage would give them anything extra right at the end, maybe challenge for a podium place. As we can see, Shane closing up to the grid, so we should be going again this lap. Shane should just about catch up before it goes over the line, so he should be good, and he has. So yeah, safety car in this lap, and it's going to be Kieran Spears who leads them away. It's a long way from here to the start finish line, and that's as long as he can go without going, and of course no one will be allowed to overtake before that point. And Kieran Spears has actually gone. We are racing once again here in Brazil. As you can see, the McLaren putting some pressure on Enzo de Toit, of course. On fresher mediums at the moment, as Kieran Spears has actually gone deep. Ivan Kingsley might be able to take the lead from this, and he has taken the lead. Of course, crucial for his title chance, you can say, is Matt on the inside now of Kieran Spears, and also the Red Bull of Enzo de Toit trying to maybe have a look down the inside. The Haas is going to stay ahead of him just about those. Tim Mercedes retains a P5, just following behind Enzo at this point, as he's just trying to close up and make a move. Of course, his hards are certainly better than the older mediums that the three ahead of him have, apart from Matt. So, going to be interesting. And also, Connor Setchel's actually gone down the inside there. Really not the place you'd want to realistically be making overtaking up maneuvers, but he tried it. Almost ended in tears as well. But luckily for both of them, they were able to continue, as everyone has a fairly full battery. A lot of them will end up burning it by the end of turn one, as actually as a fight for the lead. Once again, Matt on the inside of Ivan Kingsley once again, and of course this is fresher mediums, and he's going to take the lead of this race now, as Ivan Kingsley now is going to drop the second. He's going to be on the back foot as well. Kieran Spears maybe looking for a move down towards turn 4 they go, and the Haas is a little bit too far away, unfortunately. As you can see, Timber Salen's closing up a good lot here, as Connor Setchel looks like was losing out of position or something there. I'm not sure. As Lou Cunningham making up a few places. He's up to 8th at the moment. As Timber Salen still tries to find a way around Enzo. And I think Matt might be able to start pulling a bit of a gap here. And of course he's looking to go to the end. It was an early stop, as I said, but if he can make it work and he can pull a gap now, maybe he could bring it to the end and actually end up taking his first win, potentially. So, certainly doing a good job anyway, but never know if there was another safety car later on. Could mix things up. As of course they go through the first 3 turns, as Enzo looking on the back of Kieran Spears. Tim Mercedes hasn't actually got the best exit off of turn 3, as Connor Setchel is going to be able to close up to him a little bit, as Billy Mossum's going side by side with Jeremy Pope. This is for 1 point in this race. This is for 10th, of course, using ERS, and the Mercedes is going to get past and up into the points paying positions, of course, as now Luke is trying to make a move, it seems, on his teammate here. Billy Mossum doesn't look like he wants to let his teammate through. As this is Tim and Connor Setchel going side by side. Connor looking on the inside again, looking for that move, but realistically you shouldn't be, because I mean, to me they're very risky moves that he's going for. But if you can make it work, I guess you can make it work. Because of course Timber Salen's just about stays ahead. He's trying to still close down Enzo. He just about can't do it, as Connor Setchel's actually fallen back a little bit now from Tim there. and Louis Quinlan right at the back of Adrian Lennon looking for a move. Of course, this is hards versus hards, so no advantage on the tyres between the two, as Conor Setchell just leading a kind of train here is starting to split apart a little bit, but I guess Conor Setchell is going to be able to close that gap once again. As Tim closes up, you can see the grip. He does have certainly more grip than the people ahead of him, as 1.9 seconds now the gap between Ivan Kingsley and Matt, of course, leading this race now. As down the inside again for Conor Setchell. This time he's actually hit the back of Enzo's car, maybe giving himself damage, I'm not sure, but he's still going to be going side by side. He's up on the grass and he's gone off the track as well. He's going to be losing quite a few positions, and that's what I mean. It's too risky to be making moves like that, because things like that can happen, and now he's got a lot of ground to make up if he wants to get back to where he once was. As Tim Brasilian's trying to close up to the for the fight for second, because in terms of first place, Matt is flying away with this race at the moment. 2.7 seconds, almost 3 seconds, and of course he does have a penalty, so he does crucially need to get this gap. As Tim Brasilian's still behind Enzo, I think it's a matter of time before he makes the move, but Enzo of course benefiting from the DRS of Kieran Spears, and Kieran Spears also benefiting from Ivan Kingsley, so it's a little bit difficult to be making a move here. Is this maybe Tim Brasilian's trying to make a move, of course, out of turn 12, and then we've got the kinks of 13, 14 and 15, but using the DRS once again. It looks like Ivan Kingsley is a little bit under pressure. He's going to be going on the outside. Kieran Spears goes to the inside, and it's going to be a fairly easy move as well. Enzo trying to get involved in this. Tim Brasilian's right up the back now of the Red Bull. Adrian Lennon just behind as well. Don't forget, Adrian Lennon's still just about in the championship fight, so he's really going to want to get ahead of Tim Brasilian if he wants any chance of this going into the last round for Hungary. As Ivan Kingsley now down to third place, but crucially ahead of Tim Brasilian's, only for the moment though. 3.6 seconds now separates first and second. Matt still making a gap. Those mediums still working wonders for him at the moment. He may even be doing a two-stop, I'm not sure. At this point he might be able to pull off a two-stop if he keeps pulling the gaps that he's pulling at the moment. As I'll just see here, Tim Brasilian seems a lot closer than he has been to the back of that Red Bull. He's going to be closing, of course, with Slipstream down towards turn 1. He's just not close enough unless he outbrakes the Red Bull. He's not going to be able to do so, though, as of course through turn 1 Tim gets a little bit of a switchback line still on the back of this Red Bull, but down towards turn 4, of course, Enzo still is going to retain the DRS from the Haas ahead of him, who's actually been passed again by Ivan Kingsley, so Ivan crucially getting up another place ahead of Tim Brasilian. Tim, of course, still trying to make the move on this Red Bull, but he just can't do it. Of course, Slipstream just not strong enough, especially when Enzo has a little bit of ERS to burn. As was that Ivan actually losing the rear end a little bit, as Louis Quinlan looks like is trying to make a move. He's made a move on Tom Spicer, and he's maybe looking for one on the Alpine of Adrian Lennon as well, and certainly help out his teammate as well to know that that Louis is behind, because I think they have a little bit of an agreement not really to fight each other, as Enzo looks like is actually at a bad enough exit now that Tim Brasilian finally is going to be able to make a move into turn 1. You can see Kieran Spears just up ahead making a move on Ivan Kingsley. It might be one of Tim's only chances to make a move here, as he's trying again to just turn in earlier, get the power down earlier, and he's still on the back of this Red Bull. He's going to be opening up DRS as well, and he's going to be surely using ERS down towards turn 4, just not close enough, unfortunately. As in the background, it looks like Louis Quinlan pulled out, maybe looking at a move on Adrian Lennon, but just not close enough, of course, as Ivan Kingston. He looks like he's on the back foot a little bit, maybe a little under pressure from Enzo, and surely this is frustrating Tim Mercedes now, who can see Matt is 5 seconds ahead, over 5 seconds ahead now in the lead. He does have a penalty which will help Tim's cause, but apart from that, I mean, the gap just gets bigger and bigger, and you can see it visually on the map as well. He's about a corner ahead at all times pretty much of this train for second place, as Tom Spicer and Connor Setchell going momentarily side by side. It looked like Connor Setchell probably made another one of his moves in that right-hander, really unnecessary. That would be turn 10 is what I'm assuming. As you can see, once again, Tim Mercedes on the back, but now all of them pitting. So now Tim Mercedes is going to take P2 at the moment, as Adrian Lennon tries to defend from Louis Quinlan. Maybe Tim Mercedes could help his teammate out a little bit, try and hold up Adrian to allow him to make a move, and then they'll both be running in the podium places, of course, as those 3 pit stops making the running order go a little bit. As it looks like another move, Connor Setchell trying to make a move on Tom Spicer, but again, just not able to do it, as he's going to have to stick behind once again as they go through turn 6 and turn 7, of course, a double right-hander, if you will. As now it will be interesting. Probably the hards and mediums at least would be similar at this point. 7 seconds now separates first and second. I'll just check in case. Yeah, it's just a 3 seconds. And interestingly, Louis Quinlan has gotten a 5-second penalty for something. Maybe speeding the pit lane, I'm not sure. As of course they go through, opening up DRS down towards the start-finish line to start lap 23. Everyone pretty much staying single file, as actually Adrian Lennon is looking at a move on Tim Mercedes. Of course, both of these still in the championship fight, as it looks like he's going to get a little bit better of an exit. Tim Mercedes might be under pressure, of course, as they go down towards turn 4. Tim Mercedes is going to defend to the inside. Adrian Lennon on the outside of turn 4, side by side between the two of them, and Tim Mercedes is going to be able to just squeeze him out and retain that P2, but for how much longer though? Adrian trying to look around the outside of turn 6 and 7. Really not a great line to be taking unless you're properly alongside with them, and he's going to have to back out of that as Louis Quinlan now dives down the inside of Adrian Lennon after Adrian trying to make a move on Tim Mercedes. As Louis Quinlan losing the back end, Tom Spicer wasn't there to be able to capitalise on the mistake as much maybe as he wanted to. As Tim still leads this train of cars for the battle for second, but 7.8 seconds now separates Tim and Matt at the moment. Not much ERS really for either of these cars at the moment, as it looks like Adrian is going to close up down towards turn, down towards turn 1, and he's going to make a pretty easy move as well in turn 1. Tim Mercedes now down to second as he actually gets caught a little bit on the curb. Is Louis Quinlan going to go for a move here though? I think surely he's going to stick behind his teammate, as of course he does. Tim Mercedes stays ahead in the podium places. As I know for a fact they'll at least be in a party together anyway, so they'll be looking at team strategy, what's best for the team, what's best for Tim at the same time. As once again they go down towards the first corner, the two AlphaTauri surely won't be fighting each other, as actually looks like Louis almost lifted off there in some ways, as Connor Setchell is going to find himself on the back of this train once again after his earlier mistake. As Adrian Lennon doing quite well to lead ahead of Tim for this second place. Of course opening up the DRS for Tim Mercedes, but just not close enough at the moment. as through. Well, is this actually a fight? Shane and Matt is actually going side by side, but Matt's going to let him through as normal. So Shane up into 14th now. And that's Billy Mawson out of the race. He's ghosted anyways. Hamrick and Luke is going at it as Luke trying to defend from Enzo's fresh softs, of course. So looks like surely it's going to be a two-stop from these guys, which I don't think in any way really is faster than the one stop, because you can see the gap they need to make up. But once again, as this, it's not giving me anything, is Tim Mercedes about 5/10 behind Adrian Lennon, as Matt now leads by 8 seconds. It looks like he's pulling away a little bit less though at the moment, so maybe those mediums starting to go off. As of course 26 laps on the mediums I can't really see happening, as Tom Spicer looks like is in a little bit of a fight with Jeremy Pope, as Tom Spicer goes through for 10th place. Of course he's on the fresh mediums, so shouldn't have been too difficult of an overtake for him to make. As Ivan Kingsley down in 7th, he's trying to chase down Kieran Spears, who, well, the next cars up is actually the train that they're chasing. But by the time they catch the train, I get the feeling the softs are going to start going off by then. As of course hards, they're pretty consistent, or at least from what I can tell. Don't really lose pace too much. Not quick, but they don't lose too significantly either. This is a fight for pretty much last, as Zerman actually goes through on 10 lap old hards. Shane down to 17th. I swear he was making a move on Matt a few moments ago, or actually, well, Matt's still here, so that makes more sense. As there's some people pitting here, Jeremy Pope and Luke into the pit lane. Vezier and Tom Spice is going to be able to go through for 9th and 10th in that case. As the fight for the podium places continues, 7.9 seconds, so you can see now those mediums for Matt starting to go off, as these hards are starting to become the better tire to be on, which is why it's so crucial that he pulled that gap when he did. Of course, when those people on older mediums behind him. Timber Stalen's still trying to close down the gap to Adrian Lennon, as he's using his ERS, but both are at that point, and just not close enough. I don't think he's going to need to save up ERS, I think, if he wants to make this move. As Connor Churchill actually made another mistake, it seems. He's into the pit lane now, and Kieran Spears is going to be able to go through for a 5th place, and Ivan Kingsley also is going to inherit a 6th, and with Connor Churchill's pit stop. As Matt really, I mean, you can say dominating. He does have that penalty to think about later on, of course, but he's doing very well at the moment for himself. At 27 out of 36, but I get the feeling those mediums are going to hit a cliff. He's going to have to pit by the end, or I think he'll probably end up being caught, or at least he'll start getting caught very quickly. Because punctures aren't an uncommon thing around here, and usually I think you'd pit on lap 18 if you started on the mediums, and well, he's taken his mediums that length already, and he's gonna have to take them another 8 laps pretty much. So I'll just go through as things are kind of quiet. I'll see what's going on in the thing. With Shane and Matt. Are you allowed for not being in car 10? In 10? I don't know. I don't know what anyone's saying. So Louis Quinlan's actually a little bit closer to his teammate. He's also using ERS, so it looks like he wants to make a move this time, as he's going to be let through by his teammate as well. Tim Brusselens and Louis Quinlan switch places. Interestingly, of course, the championship leader is Tim Brusselens. Louis Quinlan is not in a title fight, so interesting that they decided that Louis should be the one to lead. But it's what they've decided is a better decision, and they've also lost DRS from that as well. So. Oh, into the pit lane for Matt, and Adrian Lennon is going to inherit the lead of this race, also going to the end. So that's going to be very interesting. Of course, Louis Quinlan leading ahead of his teammate. I'm sure he would let his teammate back through if it came to it at the end, that they were still running like this. And of course, with Louis Quinlan's penalties as well, maybe, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess Tim Brusselens could save some ERS in this position. I don't see why not if you're following behind your teammate and you're going to beat your teammate by the time penalties get applied, but he's really using his ERS. Kieran Spears, of course, now 5.5 seconds away from Tim Brusselens on those fresh softs, as Matt has emerged in P6 just ahead of Enzo there, and actually just behind Ivan Kingsley. So could see a fight between himself and Ivan in the next lap or two. McLaren versus Ferrari. Has a much better exit for Matt as well, and he's going to be looking maybe to the outside, maybe to the inside, and almost switchback line, despite them being flat out anyways. Ivan can't really defend with much, of course, similar amounts of ERS, but through goes the McLaren and up into 5th place, and the next person he needs to chase down now is Kieran Spears, who's running in 4th. And actually, what's this about? There's a Red Bull going through Tim, it seems. Oh, which Red Bull is that though? Is that Cameron? It is Cameron. I assume yeah, it is a driver. The problem here is that he's on much fresher softs, so he wants to go through and get on with his race. But then, of course, you have Tim Brusselens, who's leading at the, well, not leading, but he's at the front of the pack in 3rd place, and he's not going to be wanting to be behind a Red Bull. So it's a little bit awkward of a situation for these two. And the Red Bull is actually going to go through with a bit of ERS and DRS, I'm sure. And now his next target is going to be getting past Louis Quinlan, who, well, it should be a fairly easy move. It's just if he can get away from the blue flags quick enough. As he's going to go on the inside, and a pretty clean move there. And a safety car is out. The top guys are going to have to pit now. Matt should be able to inherit the lead of, well, he will inherit the lead off this if everyone else pits, which really they should be. There's no way that these guys can stay out on hards and still win this race, especially when you have Matt there in 5th place. I mean, he has his penalty, so once everyone pits, Matt won't be too much of a problem. So for people like Tim and Louis, surely they should. Only real problem here is that Tim Brusselens is going to get held up by his teammate and might allow Kieran Spears to get ahead. As some people taking the pit stop a lap early, not really necessary, but As there you go, into the pit lane for the top 3. Into the pit lane for Kieran Spears as well. Matt, of course, is going to stay out into the pit lane for Ivan. And into the pit lane as well for Enzo. And then, of course, there's Tom Spicer a little bit further back. So we'll see Tim Brusalens get held here on go the softs for Louis Quinlan. And you can see now Tim Brusalens needs to crucially get out ahead of Ivan Kingsley as they're changing his tyres. Ivan has got out ahead of him. That's really bad for his championship. Of course, he's leading at the moment. Ivan didn't get the best finishing position last week, but Tim Brusalens surely would prefer to be ahead of him now, and he's going to be dropped down to 7th place. Everyone pretty much on fresh softs, apart from Matt, of course, who's leading with that penalty. Adrian Lennon is going to be running in 2nd, so actually not too bad of a position for him. He might be able to close up a little bit. Lap 33 out of 36. It's going to be pretty much a 3-lap sprint to the end. And I think the safety car may even be called in a little bit earlier than it normally is. As I'm just going to have a look at how the points add up. So Tim on 124 points. Okay, I'm actually going to have to do some calculating here. So 124. Of course, Tim Brusalens finishing where he is, I think, will mean that Ross Denham is out of the championship fight. Don't quote me on that though, as I'm going to just add it up now while we're still under safety car. Ivan on 94, and well, is Connor? Oh. Yeah, I'll just do the top 3. It'll be easier. So the gap then is 24, 28. And I get the feeling that the safety car, of course, is going to be in while I'm still trying to add it up. So the maximum that can be gained is 28 points in the final. Actually, no, it's not. It's 26. As we'll see, of course, Matt lead the field away, and he's going once again. Of course, everyone on fresh softs. It's a 2-lap sprint now to the end of this race. You can see people already trying to make moves. Hamrick is on the inside of Ivan Kingsley almost. Tim Brusalens is trying to make a move on Hamrick at the same time, just not able to do it. Those, of course, leading the way. Matt still 2/10 ahead of Adrian Lennon, who could really do with this win if he can close up. And of course, he's going to be getting the win under penalties anyway, especially with Louis Quinlan behind him having the 3-second penalty, as Kieran Spears trying to close up and trying to get a move on. He knows that he needs to get past Adrian Lennon to get this win, as Ivan Kingsley in 5th as well. He could really do with a win, and he almost needs a win at the moment. As of course, on lap 35, as we approach the final lap, there's going to be no DRS, so it's going to be all ERS, and I get the feeling everyone's going to use it all the way down this straight. As of course Matt continues to lead the way, as it looks like Tim Brusalens is actually being passed now by Tom Spicer, which is really not what he needs, down to 8th place. as he just needs a few more points, especially to get Ross out of the running for the championship, and he goes through up into 7th. So that is 6 points for the German at the moment. As you never know, some people could have penalties and he could go up a few more places by the end. But I think this might be enough to crown Tim Brusaylin's champion. I will do up the maths as soon as everyone crosses the line, as of course this is the final lap of the race. Adrian Lennon is on course to take a win this season, and I think it would be his 2nd win of the season if I just go through. Yeah, he took the win back in France, so this would be win number 2 for him. As of course going through turn 11 flat out, and he's going to be following the McLaren. He doesn't need to pass the McLaren, and of course Luke Quinlan behind him with penalties as well. So it looks like with no issues it's going to be Adrian Lennon to take his 2nd win of the season, and across the line for him, he takes the win. Kieran Spears is going to take 2nd, Ivan Kingsley is up in 3rd, Matt is 4th, but Tim Brusaylin's in 5th place. Don't quote me on it, but I think Tim Brusaylin's has just been crowned champion of F2. As of course Adrian Lennon is going to collect the winner's trophy, 2nd for Kieran Spears. Solid showing from him. Ivan is going to take 3rd, but I think in the end that's not enough, as 15, so that's 104, so 109, and with Tim Brusaylin's being in what I saw was 5th if I remember. $134. Yeah, Tim was 5th, no fastest laps for any of them, so that's going to be 134. And Ivan with 109, 29, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. Wait, 9. Okay, I'll just go through this quickly. Is of course Adrian Lennon taking the win, Kieran Spears 2nd, Ivan in 3rd, Matt 4th, Tim 5th, Connor 6th, Tamrick 7th, Louis 8th, Romano in 9th, Luke Baker in 10th, and then Cameron, Erman, Vezier, Jeremy Pope, Tom, Shane, Billy Mossam, Jack Huden, and Kaya. So 19, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Just about he stays in. So it's not actually a championship wrapped up, unfortunately for Tim, because if next week Ivan Kingsley showed up, got the win with fastest lap, and Tim didn't get any points, then in that case it would be Ivan's. So just keeps him in the championship fight. As we'll get the top 3 in for interviews now. I added it up, and from all I can see, Tim isn't, Tom. Yeah, I think you need to check your maths, Tim. Or Tom. My god. Yeah, see, Tim even Tim comes in and he knows 25 is the gap. I mean, who knows, if there's some steward reports, maybe he will end up taking the championship, but never know. At the moment, it's not one. So there's Ivan in. So just add Storm. Okay, not sure if they're going to be joining anytime soon, at least. So, Ivan, we'll start off with you, and if they join during it, then that'll be good. So, of course, today, third place, Tim down in fifth, just keeping yourself in the title fight. Of course, there's 25 points between you and Tim, so realistically, you'd need a win and fastest lap next week to, or actually, well, have you taken a win this season before?
Yes.
Okay, well then you just need the win to take the championship next week, but then Tim would have to take no points, so it's a long shot next week, but in Hungary, I guess the question is, do you think that you could do it? Do you think you could take a win? And of course, if Tim runs into problems?
Well, obviously with this race as well, it was difficult because I had the qualifying ban, and in Hungary, where I qualified was like it last, so I'm not gonna have to do what I did this week, but I'm gonna have to do it the next week, following up, starting from the back, and I think Tim was near the front of the grid, so it's gonna be a pretty difficult race. But yeah, no, I didn't actually expect to get a podium this race. I was just not feeling like I was gonna even get a finish because I didn't have time to practice.
Yeah, and of course, I guess to ask you questions about this race that just happened, of course, you said you didn't think you'd get a podium. When you pit onto the softs, of course, you were on the reverse strategy. Without that last safety car, do you think that you still could have made up ground and maybe challenged for the podium places still, or do you think it was a little bit of a long shot?
Well, me and Kieran were working together because obviously my teammate had a race ban for reasons. So I just felt as if it was there because the penalties that the people had in front were still going to be there, so I think I would have still got it, but the safety car kind of brought Tim into the mix as well, so I could have caught up to him as well. So obviously I can't be too happy with this podium because it's not been won yet. The championship is still going on to the next week. But no, we'll see how it ends next week and see who wins the title.
Alright, and so of course, congratulations on your P3 today, and good luck for next week.
Thanks.
And
Thank
that,
you.
I guess, would round out the stream. Doesn't look like the other two are joining. So that
No,
has been...
Kieran had to go get dinner.
Okay, well, that's
Kieran
fair
had to
enough.
go get dinner.
Yeah, that has been IRL F2 here in Brazil, of course. Make sure to join us next week for Hungary, the final round. The championship is going down to the final round as well, which F2 always tends to do, and I'm sure it's going to be a good battle. Of course, Tim just needs 2 points to secure it, so he needs to be 10th or lower, with Ivan getting a win for him to not get it. So it's really it may as well be Tim's at this point, but you never know what could happen. So join us for Hungary next week, and apart from that, that's been all from me, Kevin, and well, yeah, goodbye.